The silence weighed on him like chains, binding his heart in ways no one could see. Every time he stood before the mirror, Sheikh Hamdan no longer saw the prince admired by millions. He saw a man who carried questions unanswered, words unspoken, and wounds unseen. The silence from the one he loved became a constant echo in his chest, and he confessed that the greatest battles are not fought in arenas or against rivals, but in the quiet hours of the night when the soul longs for a voice that never comes. He often wondered how love could transform so quickly, from laughter that once filled the air to a silence that suffocated every memory. He recalled moments when her words once gave him wings, but now her silence clipped them. He wrote that silence has a way of turning sweet memories into bitter ones, because every recollection becomes a reminder of what is missing now. The person who once was his comfort became the very source of his ache, and the silence between them felt like a wall taller than mountains. His poetry grew darker as he described how silence changes perception. A smile once seen as pure love becomes questionable in memory. A gesture once interpreted as affection becomes clouded with doubt. Fazza admitted that silence rewrites history. It makes the heart unsure whether the love ever truly existed, or if it was a dream from which he has finally awakened. This uncertainty became the heaviest burden he carried, far heavier than any crown or responsibility. Though broken, he still carried hope. Sheikh Hamdan revealed that he would wait in the silence, not because he was weak, but because love had taught him patience. Yet, his patience was not infinite, and he knew silence could not be endured forever. He confessed that silence does not simply pause love, it slowly kills it. And though he would wait for her voice, he feared the day when even his love could no longer survive the endless absence of words. He compared silence to a desert, vast, empty, and merciless. Just as the desert swallows the footsteps of travelers, silence swallows the voice of love, leaving nothing but emptiness behind. Fazza wrote that wandering through silence feels like wandering through shifting sands. You never know where you are, you never know where you're headed, and no matter how far you walk, you find no oasis. His heart became that traveler, searching for one drop of water, one word of reassurance, one sign of life. The silence also humbled him. He admitted that no matter how strong a man may be, silence can bring him to his knees. It can break kings, warriors, and poets alike, for silence is a force invisible yet invincible. Sheikh Hamdan, despite all the respect he commands, bowed to its weight, acknowledging that no title could protect him from heartbreak. His poetry became a prayer, asking the heavens for strength to bear the silence until he either heard her voice again or found peace within himself. Yet, his words carried a warning to those who use silence as a weapon. He reminded them that silence is never forgotten. Words once withheld cannot be returned, because the moment of healing is lost forever. He explained that love requires courage, the courage to speak even when words are hard, the courage to explain even when the truth hurts. Silence, he said, is the refuge of cowards, while love is the song of the brave. He wrote of the loneliness that followed him even in crowds. Surrounded by people who admired him, cheered for him, and loved him from afar, he still felt utterly alone. Silence followed him like a shadow, reminding him that admiration from the world could never replace the single voice he longed for. The applause of millions meant nothing compared to the quiet absence of one person. This truth stripped away all illusions, leaving only raw vulnerability in his verses. Sheikh Hamdan revealed that silence became a test of his faith. In those quiet, painful moments, he turned to God, seeking comfort where human words failed him. He prayed not only for healing, but for understanding, for the wisdom to see the lesson hidden in the silence. Perhaps, he reflected, the silence was meant to show him that love cannot be his only anchor, that he must root his strength in something greater, something eternal. His words became not just cries of pain, but whispers of surrender. Through his poetry, he spoke directly to the woman whose silence had broken him. He asked her if she knew what her quietness was doing to him, if she realized that her silence was not only hurting him, but also destroying the love they had built. He pleaded, not for promises or grand gestures, but for honesty. Even if your truth destroys me, his words seemed to cry, let it be spoken, do not leave me broken by silence. His vulnerability struck at the heart of those who read his verses. For if a prince, beloved, powerful, and adored, could be broken by silence, then how much more fragile are the hearts of ordinary people? His poetry reminded the world that love does not recognize titles or power. It reduces everyone to the same longing, the same vulnerability, the same ache for connection. Silence, he proved, is the great equalizer of hearts. Even as he revealed his brokenness, Fazza began to see himself differently. He realized that being broken is not the end, it is the beginning of transformation. Silence may have hurt him, but it also awakened him. It showed him the depth of his capacity to feel, to love, to endure. And though he was broken inside, he chose to rebuild himself not with bitterness, but with wisdom. He turned his pain into poetry, ensuring that his silence would never be wasted. His closing reflections were bittersweet. He admitted that he would always remember the silence, because scars do not disappear, but he refused to let it define him. He vowed to rise from it, to let it teach him strength, to let it make him more compassionate. His poetry promised that though he was broken inside, he would not remain broken forever. Instead, he would use the silence to find his own voice and to inspire others to speak their truths before silence destroys them. And so, Sheikh Hamdan left the world with a message that outlives his own pain. Never let silence replace love, never let silence destroy what words could save. For silence may be easier, but words, no matter how difficult, are always braver. His brokenness became his legacy, his silence became his testimony, and his words became the eternal echo of a heart that refused to be erased. The silence weighed on him like chains, binding his heart in ways no one could see. Every time he stood before the mirror, Sheikh Hamdan no longer saw the prince admired by millions. He saw a man who carried questions unanswered, words unspoken, and wounds unseen. The silence from the one he loved became a constant echo in his chest, and he confessed that the greatest battles are not fought in arenas or against rivals, but in the quiet hours of the night when the soul longs for a voice that never comes.